This is the third video in the Trinket box series for SketchUp for Schools. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a simple lid design. And from this video and from the skills that you've already learned, hopefully you'll be able to go off and start designing your own lid for the Trinket box. So I'm starting this video on the website, particularly on the Trinket box page on the website, where I've put in some photographs of really good quality examples of previous students' work. And I've put it here so that you can look at it and get a bit of an idea of what you might want to do for the design of the lid of your Trinket box. Now the lid design I'm going to work on today and show you is this one here, which is a fairly simple design, but quite effective, particularly if done well. But I'll just go through and have a, scroll through and have a look at a few other designs here as well. As you can see, often a really good quality but simple design is quite effective. This one over here is particularly good as well. But this is the one I'm going to work on today with you. Okay, so we go to our G Suite for Education suite, and we'll go down to SketchUp for Schools and let the program open up. Open up our Trinket box file. Now, to do this tutorial, you really need to have done the previous two tutorials. And you should be up to this stage here where you've made the basic box with the base and the sliding tray with the base. I'm going to go to a standard view, top view, and I'm going to change this to parallel projection. Okay, so the first design decision that I've got to make here is how big is my lid going to be? Now you could make your lid so that it's exactly the same size as the box itself, but I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's a good idea to have your lid overhang the sides of the box, even if just by a little bit. Now the reason for that is this. If you're going to make the lid exactly the same size, then it really should finish flush. But the reality is, if it's out by about 1 millimeter, you'll see it. But if you have it overhang the box by maybe 5 millimeters, if it's out by 1 millimeter, you won't see it. So in my case, I'm going to have my lid overhang the sides of the box by about 5 millimeters. I just think it looks good as well. So the first thing I want to do is I want to work out how wide is my box and how long is my box. Now we already know these measurements off the working drawings, but the reality is that when you make something in the workshop, small variations creep in. So you want to check. So even though I'm checking the SketchUp model here, when I actually go to make my lid in the real world, I'm going to measure those dimensions off my box in the real world. So the shortcut is T for tape measure. So I go to this edge, down to this edge, 130 millimeters. Escape. So I go to the end, up here, 220 millimeters. Escape. I'll just get rid of that menu for a minute. All right, so if I'm going to make my lid overhang 5 millimeters this way, 5 millimeters this way, 5 this way, 5 this way, all I've got to do is get those dimensions and add 10 millimeters to them, and I've got the size of my lid. So 130 becomes 140 and 220 becomes 230. All right. H is my shortcut for my pan tool. I'm going to move the box up here a bit. I'll just get it in a good spot. T for tape measure. I'm just going to hover on the green axis here. I'm going to come across 50 millimeters. That's just going to be, I'm just setting out an area for where I'm going to put my lid. From this line here, I'm going to go out along the red axis 200 230 millimeters. So I just go out this way, type the number 230, press enter. From the red axis, I'm going to go up 140. All right. H to pan across a little bit more. So you can see this is really my template size for my box. Sorry, for my box lid. Now the next thing I want to do, if I go back to the design here, when I make this in the real world, I'm going to start with this centerpiece here, and then I'm going to work around it with strips of timber. Okay, T for tape measure again. Now I know that this is 140. What I want to do now is I want to get in 2 more guides here to find the center of this rectangle here. So if that's 140 millimeters, I know half of 140 is 70. So I'll go up here and I'll just type 70. Then the length between, or the distance between this and this was 230. So half of that is 115. So I'll go from this end here and I'll come across and I'll just type 115. So what I know now is that is basically the center of my lid. All right, so if we go back here and have a look at this piece here, we've got to kind of work out how big we want that to be. So I'm thinking I might make use a square piece of radiata pine that's 90 millimeters by 90 millimeters. That's just a design decision. I could make it bigger, I could make it smaller. So I'm going to find this intersection here with my tape measure, click, left click, go up along this line and type 45, because that's half of 90. Left click, come down this way, 45, and again, 45, and we'll come out this way, 45. There we go. So I've got our guides. L for line tool, guide point, click, 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 click. That's our centerpiece of the box. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make these into individual components just yet. In fact, I'm not going to make them into individual components at all. It's going to make some things a little bit more difficult, but for what we're doing, it's probably not worth it. Now, another sort of design constraint, any of you guys who with your designs are going to use strips of hardwood from the workshop, they're going to be 20 millimeters wide. And the reason for this is, number one, I'll need to prepare up a whole lot of strips for you. And if there are lots of different dimensions, it's going to drive me crazy, basically. The other thing too is they have to be cut on the table saw, and strips that are under 20 millimeters wide, it gets a little bit dangerous on the table saw. So that's a bit of a design constraint. T for tape measure. We get onto this edge here and we're going to come out, and what we want to see is we want to see some pink lines. And then I'm just going to type 20, enter. Same again here, 20. What the pink lines mean is it basically means that the guide is parallel to that line there, and that's very important. Okay, now if we go back to this here, what you can see is these are made up of pieces of timber that are like this piece of timber here starts there and goes up there. So I'm going to replicate that. So we're not doing sort of 45-degree angles on the ends of these. It's too hard. All right, L for line. We'll come across. Again, we're looking for that pink line. Then we go from there up here. I'll just press escape. Then I'm going to go from there up to there. I'm looking for that pink line again. Then I'm going from there to there. And I want to see that that goes grey. That's really important. All right, now from this one here, I'm going to go from here, but I'm not going to go all the way. I'm going to go to here because that's actually the edge of my box. Then I'm going to come across here. So when I say edge of my box, I mean edge of my box lid. Then I'm going to go from here, make sure I'm getting that pink line. Yep. Then from there to there. Good. Okay, I saw that go grey as well. Then from here, I'll go down here. I'm looking for that pink line. Yes. From there to there. From there to there. And then this final one, I'm just going to go from there to there. Okay, that's now complete. Now you can see with this one, in fact, I made a little mistake. I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix it. So what I didn't do, so see how this is the edge of my box lid here, and I've kind of cut that off. Down here, I haven't cut that off. This is actually how it's going to happen in the real world. And what will happen is this will get cut off later. Okay, but what I'm going to do, how I'm going to fix this, I'm just going to go, I've got my line tool from there across, E for erase, and I'm just going to get rid of those bits there. There we go. All right, so that's all good. Next one, T for tape measure. Again, we're going to do our 20mm thing again. And we're looking for those pink lines. All right, alpha line. I'm going to go from that intersection there, across. I'll come down to here, and then I'll come across to there. Then from this one, I'm going to go from here, across, all the way up to there. I'm going to press escape, so I can just then redo a new line from there to there. Then I'm going from here, up to here, across, and from here across there. We're getting there. Okay. T for tape measure. $20 this way. All right, now it gets a little bit tangled up with the guides here, but you can see we're getting to the end of it here. All right, so the alpha line. So I'll start here. I'll come in close because we're getting really close here. So we'll go to there, up to there. I'll come back out again, up to here, and across. This one here goes across like that, down to there. Same as on that other end. It gets a little bit tricky. All right, that one's going, just got to work out, that's actually got to go. That one goes to there, and then like that. All right, then this one's going, can get a little bit tricky here, but make sure I get to that intersection. That doesn't look, see how that's not lining up properly there? Something's not right. I've got to check. Yeah, that's not in the right spot. I see it's getting, that's also getting cut off as well. All right, so what I'll do, I'm just going to erase that line. So I made a little mistake there. Just going to erase that line there. Then I've got to go alpha line down here. Across there. That's why it's good to go in close to things, just to check to see what's going on. And then we've got this one here. And again, we just got to go in really close, yeah. And then that one's going all the way up to there like that. All right, so we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Okay, so I've just got these corners to fill in now. So it's getting a bit easier now. In fact, what I might do, see how I've got all these guides here, and it's actually getting a little bit confusing. So I'm just going to go E for erase, and I'm just going to get rid of. Now just watch carefully what guides I am getting rid of, because some of the guides are still quite useful. Obviously these like boundary guides are actually critical. We can't get rid of those. But these ones we don't need anymore. And that's why it's good to sort of clean things up as you go. Okay, T for tape measure. We'll come back in again and we'll do our 20mm line again. We're nearly there. Nearly finished. L for line. So these ones are a bit simpler now. In the real world, if you were doing this, you wouldn't actually cut all of these angles individually. You just get the pieces on there and you get them to sort of join up here, but all these extra bits you'd actually cut off as you went. That's how you would actually do it. It's kind of hard to explain, but all right, let's have a look at these last ones. T for tape measure. Well, that's 19mm out to there. So we don't need the tape measure anymore. So the last ones, we're just going to fill these corners in with triangles. So L for line, because remember our strips are 20mm wide. And I'll do this one. Just want to come in and make sure I definitely get that intersection there. Okay, there we go. So we've got that done. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete all the guides now. So we'll go to delete guides. Get rid of all of those. I'm going to change my view slightly. I want to go back to perspective. Well, that was funny. We'll come back in again here. We'll get rid of that. O for orbit. So we can see at the moment that's still just a two-dimensional design. So look, what I want to do, I want to give it some color, but I think in the meantime, I'm going to give it some thickness as well. P for push. This is going to be a little bit tedious, but now, how thick do we want our lid? I'm going to try 15mm thick. That looks okay. So 15. Now I could go over each of these pieces and go 15, but the other way I can do this is I can just, well, you can see it's just going 15 high, or if I hover over one of these other surfaces, it automatically takes it to that height. So it does speed things up a little bit. Not sure why that went white. We'll see, hopefully see in a minute. See if this corner does it. This corner didn't. All right, now that one went white as well. Okay, not sure why. Let's go back to this and have a look. Now they went with a light, they went light, dark, and then sort of something out there. And I think that's not a bad idea. That's contrast. So we've got the center piece here, and that's probably, because of the size of it, it probably should be radiata pine. So we'll go over here and we're just going to, rather than go for some textures, we're going to go, so this is our materials menu, which you've used already. But this time we're just going to change, and we're just going to find some colors. All right, so let's go, what's something that's kind of a bit like radiata pine? Maybe that. Paint bucket there. Now, if we then go every second one, we might go radiata pine. So we'll go to this one here and this one here. Then we'll go for something dark. Well, maybe we could try some jarrah. That might look a bit like this. That's some of the dark red timber we've got in the workshop. We could try that again as a contrast. And then maybe out here we could either try that again, or we could do a different timber that's a little bit more orangey browny or something. So let's give that a go. Well, that's not too bad. Just to make it look a little bit more authentic, we'll do down the sides here as well. O for orbit, because we've got to go around the other sides. Got to get it, make sure we get our colours right. O for orbit. We've got that, and then we'll just finish off with this jarrah. That was the wrong colour. I think it was that one. Yep, that was that one. I didn't do that end there yet. Just got to go back and do that. O for orbit. Okay, so there's our lid, and what I'm going to do now, I'll get rid of that menu there. I'm just going to select all of that and then turn that into a component. So marquee selection, right click, we'll call it lid, make component lid. Okay. All right. Now the other thing we've got to do with that is we've got to place it. Now remember it was 5 millimeters out from each edge. So one way we can do this, we can actually give ourselves a little guide. So look, with the tape measure, if I come in on this corner here and go T, come down green and press 5, enter, it actually gives me a little, like a mark out in space. Then if I go this way and come out along the red axis and go 5, it gives me a little mark there. So what I'll do now, O for orbit, I'm just going to orbit around a bit. What I want to do is I want to grab this lid, and remember when we move something, we move from a known point to a known point. So if I go M, I know that that corner there is going to go on this second mark here because I've come down this way and out this way, and it's giving me a little mark in space. So corner of lid, so if I grab that corner, zoom back, go up here and go right in close there, I've got it in the right place now. O for orbit, let's have a look around. Very good, we've got our lid, excellent. Now the good thing with that is, now that I'm looking at it, I'm like going, you know what, when I make that in the real world, I might design that again and actually give it a little bit more of an overlap. I've only given it 5 millimeters all the way around. The other thing too is you might then go, maybe I don't like those colors, or you could change it, that way.